For as long as I can remember, one of my favorite genres of video game has been the RPG. I remember vividly the first one I played. It was Bard's Tale 2, The Destiny Knight on my Commodore 64, and I was absolutely captivated. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Pegs. RPGs persist to this day. We get crazy, over-the-top RPGs with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay in them, and while those games are great, I want to talk to you about some retro games today. Now, for purposes of this video, retro is basically going to mean anything from the Xbox, PS2, GameCube generation on back. I'm tempted to put in the 360, PS3, and the Wii, but I'm going to let y'all have that one for now. Those will move back when the new generation of video game consoles comes out. So we're going to start things off right now on the Sega Dreamcast with one of my all-time favorite RPGs, Skies of Arcadia. One of the games that I think is just a signature experience on the Sega Dreamcast is Skies of Arcadia. This was something that came out of nowhere for me, because when I thought of the Dreamcast, I thought of adventure games, and I thought of fighting games. So to get a deep, fundamentally amazing RPG like Skies of Arcadia was unexpected. Now, this is a traditional turn-based RPG. It is full of just essential combat experiences that you would expect from a traditional RPG, but where the game really excels is when it leans into exploration. You're able to fly around in open space, you have really memorable characters and a huge world to explore, and it's just a ton of fun. It's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. It's such a just landmark, notable experience that I really wish more people had the opportunity to play it. Like, this would be a perfect thing for Sega to bring back. If they really want to, do it. I mean, you're remastering and remaking all these fantastic games. Let's have a new Skies of Arcadia entry, guys. That would be amazing. I don't know that we'll ever see it, but I sure wouldn't be disappointed if it happened. In the meantime, though, the original on the Dreamcast or the remaster on the GameCube are well worth tracking down and playing because they are just nearly perfect games. Absolutely amazing experiences from top to bottom. When it comes to tactical strategy games, one of my absolute favorites is Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones. Now, this is my first Fire Emblem game I ever played, and it was something that connected with me immediately. Now, I've told the story in the past how I found this game at a magical Kmart in Oviedo, Florida, where they always had GBA games on clearance. Actually, a little suspicious of how often the GBA games were on clearance, but whatever. I made out like a bandit at that place. There were always amazing games there. And I discovered Fire Emblem there. This was something that I didn't really know about, but I was peripherally aware of it. And when I saw that it was a strategy game and it was a strategy role-playing game, I was on board. And this, to this day, is my favorite Fire Emblem, as I said. I found the characters to be incredibly memorable, the combat to be fun, the world to be vast and just a blast to play in, and the game was truly difficult. Like, this was the first time I'd ever really experienced permadeath in a game, and it was something that just kind of blew my mind a little bit, that the stakes were real. And I got attached to characters, and when they died, I felt the emotional impact of them being lost. Something that I still love to this day. I play this game probably once every 2 or 3 years. I play through it, and it's just a fantastic experience from top to bottom. While so many people are just enthralled, and rightfully so, with the brilliant Baldur's Gate 3, one of my absolute favorite RPGs of all time is Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance on the Microsoft Xbox. It is such a wonderful action RPG and an example of what a good Western-developed RPG could be. Something that was different than normal JRPGs or turn-based strategy games or turn-based RPGs. It was its own thing. It leaned into its own identity. It reveled in the fact that it was D&D related, and it was fun. The game is very straightforward. You create a character, you go through, you have quests to complete, and it's kind of a button masher with some spells and things like that, and equipment management and stat tracking and things like that, stuff that kind of lends itself to being an RPG with the gameplay of an action game. It's really nice. Now, it's not as deep as something like the standard Baldur's Gate games, but it's still really fun, and for something on the Microsoft Xbox that was not a system well known or well loved for its RPGs, this one stands out really high. It's a fantastic title. As much as I say the Super Nintendo is a JRPG machine, I really think the best pure RPG machine ever might be the Game Boy Advance, because there's just so many incredible games released on it or re-released on it that make it just an incredible library of games to carry around in your pocket. And one of the best games on that console as far as RPGs goes is Golden Sun. This was developed by Camelot Software, the guys behind the absolutely fantastic Shining Force series, and it is such a wonderful world with memorable characters and fantastic gameplay that doesn't really go too far away from what we would expect from a JRPG, but it executes things in such a brilliant way that you just want to keep going further into the game because the storyline is just so incredible. And the gameplay, while not anything out of the ordinary or anything crazy that we haven't experienced before, is executed perfectly. It's a nearly perfect game. Like, I keep saying perfect, but that's really what it is. Golden Sun is magnificent. I wish this was an IP that was still heavily loved by Nintendo and was putting out new releases, because God bless, would I love to see a new entry in that series on the Switch. While I'm tempted to show off the Sega CD version of Lunar the Silver Star, I want to go with the PS1 version, because this is actually how I originally played this game. I played Lunar the Silver Star Story complete on the PS1, and this game absolutely blew me away. I did not anticipate enjoying or appreciating this game as much as I did, but instead what I was met with was an unbelievable storyline with some really creative gameplay and some fantastically gorgeous cutscenes that just made me just fall for this universe and to want to be a part of it, to want to experience it deeply and enjoy it as immensely as I did. This was something where, when the original collector's edition on the PS1 released, I was excited because it wasn't a universe I was familiar with. My friend Keith had told me about it because he had it on a Sega CD, but I had never played it. So being able to play it on my PS1 and to be completely blown away, while everyone else was excited about Final Fantasy games, really made me feel like I had found some kind of a secret game that no one else knew about. And I still kind of feel that way to this day, because while people know about Lunar, not a lot of people talk about it all that often, and it holds up so well today. The gameplay is wonderful, the soundtrack is incredible, the story is magnificent. It is marvelous. Yeah, it's apparently Earthbound week here on the channel. I'm talking about Earthbound twice in 2 videos, and it's deserving of it, because there's just something truly incredible about what this game was able to do and what this game was able to accomplish. So it isn't a traditional JRPG in the sense of it's high fantasy or anything like that. It is decidedly modern with a sci-fi spin, which is a very fun place to take the JRPG tropes. The characters are incredibly memorable. The gameplay is basic. Like, I think that's my biggest critique about Earthbound, is that it is a basic combat mechanic that everyone can understand, because it doesn't stray too far from what makes JRPGs work. But where the game really excels and really succeeds is the characters, the writing, and the music. The world of Earthbound is something to be reveled in, because it's our modern world, just with a really weird Harlequin twist on it that just makes things a little bit out of sorts, a little bit askew, and makes things different and weird and strange and crazy. It's so much fun to play. It is truly one of the most unique stories and experiences you can have in video games. Earthbound is nearly perfect. Yeah, I am going to be talking about the sequel here and not the original, because as much as I love Chrono Trigger, I think it gets its flowers plenty. And there's something to be said about its sequel, Chrono Cross, which released originally on the PlayStation 1. And I have loved Chrono Cross since the first time I played it. I actually am one of the weirdos who likes Chrono Cross more than Chrono Trigger, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that the characters were just more memorable to me because there was more writing and more development for them, and significantly more. There's like 45 playable characters in the game, which is just absurd to me. The game itself is wonderful. It is a straight-up turn-based RPG, and there's a lot of really interesting ties into Chrono Trigger during the game as well, which makes it kind of a perfect sequel. It's a tribute to Chrono Trigger, and it pays homage to Chrono Trigger while not being reliant upon Chrono Trigger for its own success or failure. I like the characters in the game. I love the music. Like, the soundtrack to Chrono Trigger might be top 5 all-time for me in video games. I just think it's brilliant. Wonderful title, something that I think a lot of people overlook in favor of the SNES original Chrono Trigger, but for me, Chrono Cross is just as impressive, just as wonderful. Another entry here from Camelot Software. This is Mario Tennis. Now, this is possibly going to raise some eyebrows, because people are going to look at this and say, that is not an RPG, sir. That is a sports game. And while, yes, it is definitely a sports title, it's a sports RPG where the gameplay is what you use to build your stats and how you create your character. Now, I will grant you, this is decidedly an alternative take on what an RPG can be, but I think it's brilliant. The gameplay, first off, for a tennis game is spectacular. It's as good as any tennis game you're going to play on any console. Despite the fact that this is on an archaic piece of hardware like the Game Boy Color, it still plays brilliantly well and it's still a ton of fun today. It looks great. The stat tracking and the way you build your character up and improve them is fun. And it's really cool that you're able to bring that character into the N64 version as well. It's kind of brilliant as far as I'm concerned. Mario Tennis, not your traditional RPG, but one of the best you can play. One of the reasons I love the original Paper Mario on the N64 so much is because of how important it is to my wife. This was one of the first RPGs she ever played, and I really do consider it kind of a gateway drug for her into opening her mind to what video games could be, because prior to that, a lot of what she had played were basically puzzle games. She is a Tetris expert, but something like Paper Mario opened her eyes a little bit to what gaming could be. And that's what led her to things like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, to Zelda Breath of the Wild, games that she truly loves and she just puts as much time as possible into. And that's what we got with Paper Mario. And the brilliant thing about Paper Mario is that it expands upon what was established in something like Super Mario RPG on the SNES with kind of the timing-based combat and just improves it in so many ways and just makes it truly an incredible experience. Now that was expanded upon even further with things like Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door and the Mario and Luigi series, but you can't go wrong with the original on the N64, with the original Paper Mario. It's a fantastic title and just such an imaginative use of the character of Mario to make it a unique game and to make it stand on its own 2 feet beyond what Mario RPG established. Yeah, anyone who's been on the channel for more than a minute knew this one was coming. This is my favorite game of all time. This is Suikoden 2 from Konami on the PlayStation 1. It is, in my eyes, what is the perfect RPG experience. A massive cast of characters with over 100 characters to recruit. Varied and wide gameplay options. Everything from tactical strategy to traditional turn-based combat to mini-games to gambling. It has so much going for it, and it offers so many varied and just fun gameplay experiences that I can't help but love it. The storyline, though, is where the game excels, because not only do you have the core story behind the 3 main characters in the title, you also get these incredible emotional beats from the supporting cast as well. Like, there isn't a single character that is overlooked. Every character feels important. Every character feels necessary, except for the flying squirrels. I will say the flying squirrels don't necessarily feel important by any stretch of the imagination, but they're cute. They wear capes, so there's that. But the gameplay itself and the storyline behind every other character in the game is just magical. I can't say enough good things about this title. I am ecstatic that we are getting the remaster next year so more people will have the opportunity to play it, because I really do feel that this game, as great as it is, has been locked behind a paywall for so long because the game has never been inexpensive. Once it got to the point where it was even remotely collectible, it has been ridiculously pricey. I mean, I think RPGs are great. One of the things about RPGs that I love is that they're timeless. You can have a great story. It doesn't really matter how it looks or how it plays. If it's telling a compelling story, that's really all you need. And I think these games serve that up quite nicely. We got a nice blend here as well of traditional RPGs, turn-based combat, and even some action RPGs. There's a nice mix of gameplay here. I think there's some fun stuff in here. Let me know in the comments down below your favorite retro RPGs. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. If this is your first time here, click that subscribe button. Love to have you stick around. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.